This basically allow users to experience a computer-generated reality that is not there immediately, like it is artificially created, or if it is not existent in the real world. So you can use a computer to generate a 3D space of the digital reality. So then it is then immersed into the computer digital graphics. So, what are the advantages of virtual reality is that it can be used to stimulate critical situations for organizations like maybe in hospitals or in military to provide important training tools to develop the necessary skills. It can also be used to provide a very immersive experience into a different reality as well, other than the immediate world as well. It basically enhances your gaming experience. Sometimes it also provides you a relaxing and calming environment, like for the people who have mental or health issues. It can also build a person's confidence, like if they can replicate a situation as well. The disadvantages can be like achieving perfection or achieving perfect calibration between camera and the user is very difficult, and sometimes it is not that much accurate. The technology required to create a VR is also very expensive as well. And some people might think that there is a danger that people can be like they would think that the virtual reality is much better other than this. So their perceptions or opinions might change because it totally differs. So VR is basically one of the most prominent technologies in this that allows you to even have a more greater and immersive experience. As far as the scientific approaches are considered, like as they have begun to use the VR in their research, scientists have mostly relied on using the 2D visualization of elements such as atoms, molecules to explore their structure and appearances as well. So VR can now basically allow scientists to create a VR presentation of this kind of aspect of our world that they can interact and see. Other than that, I have also the example of tourism as well. Like organizations around the world also use the VR to allow the users to have like visit the areas to those people who are particularly with disabilities or who are unable to travel or who are unable to experience the tourist attraction. So it can also be used in the tourism sector as well. So here is a question of virtual reality that I am sharing it on the WhatsApp group, and you can work onto it. This is from Feb March. The question says that describe the difference between virtual reality and augmented reality and describe the advantages of using virtual reality when training firefighters. This is from May June 2019. Analyze the use of virtual reality in healthcare. This is also a question from virtual reality and augmented reality. And okay, this is also a question from the based on virtual reality or augmented reality for your AS level. So let me update the questions in the group so that you can review them later on. Virtual reality. The first part which says that describe the differences. So virtual reality basically creates a 3D environment that does not relate to the real world, whereas augmented reality overlays the digital elements into a live view. And then for the firefighting, you can explain the scenario. Then this part says that analyze the use of virtual reality. So if you're going to have a question in which you have to analyze the uses. So I'll help you out that what does analyze means in terms of your exam paper. So if it is, it says you that you need to analyze. What you mean to do is that you need to explain the main point of effectiveness in detail and identify their characteristics and examine closely. So for this part, you can go to this that the uses of the VR therapy can be important for the psychological occupational therapy. It can be used to treat depressions as well, right? Like this. Then here's another question that you need to explain the difference again with the virtual reality and augmented reality. And I have shared the answer for them. So that's it for this part. You can go through it. Now, after that, I'm moving to the robotics one. After that, I have the robotics. So robotics basically involves the study of designing, building, and applications of robots. So robot is basically any machine that can be used to perform tasks that would be otherwise be used by humans, but we mostly use robots because they are much more faster. They are programmed to do it automatically, or they can work with the direct instructions of a human as well. So when you have a robot, it's like maybe a modern day technology, but their origins are quite old. Like the automation experts of robotics can be uh, traced back to the ancient Greece and Rome. So automation is basically the ability to operate automatically. So what can be the advantages of for the robots is that first of all it can be used to perform tedious tasks or the tasks which makes you tired or exhausted so that are dangerous for humans, so you can use them. It do not require a break as well, so they can work 24/7 if necessary, and they can improve a person's quality of life as well. It is also not prone to error as well because they are much more perfect. What can be the disadvantages? That the disadvantages can be like the robots are like replacing the humans in certain areas of the job. Like they may take some needed jobs from the human as well. And if they are paired with artificial intelligence, so therefore they are not only capable of learning new things, but they are a lot more capable. And the disadvantages can be like they do not have sympathy and empathy in them, like emotional responses, they do not have them. They also require a constant power of supply, and this can be expensive and it can have a lasting impact if you want to keep your robots on. However, your designing and building requires you a very high material, so which can be expensive as well. Some humans also fear that the use of robots and do not agree with our current dependencies of them. It can, however, help to reduce our time and cost as well. Like the prosthetic limbs is one of the example of robots that can be used to replace those ones that are lost with medical practice for a long time. The use of prosthetics is now in the further development due to the rise of robotics. So robotics prosthesis is like in a rapidly developing area in a medicine. So robotic prosthetic can be like maybe connected to a human brain as well that can allow a human to train their brain to maybe able to move the robots. So prosthetic limbs can be used. Another example could be nanobots as well. Nanorobots have been like scaled down to a very microscopic size. So their ability is that the robots could be proved to be extremely useful in the medical procedures. Like it is possible to put the nanorobots into a human's bloodstream to track down and eliminate certain medical conditions. So this could be used in the surgical part as well. Like nanobots robots can have cancer treatments as well. Then the computer assisted translation, this is basically the ability to translate from one language to another that has allowed a greater level of communication. So computer assisted translations have been developed to help support the essential practices, like they can be used to increase your productivity and accuracy. Advantages for that is that people can get access to an instant translation of a document, maybe from one document to another, which is going to save your time and communication. The disadvantages can be like people can be spectacle about the accuracy, so sometimes it can have errors. You can also be helped to reduce the error that may be present in manual translation method that it is much faster as well, but at the same time, this should not be this cannot be accurate. You also have the example of foreign language websites as well that provides you with a translation that you can access them from anywhere part of the world. And if you even want to visit a website from a different part of a country, so it is like you are writing that language in that country. Then we have the spell checking part as well. The spell checking is also one of the area where you ask the computer to assist you for the spell checkings as well. So this is pretty much simple, nothing difficult in that. Then in 13.8, I have holographic imaging. So holographic imaging is known as hologram. So a holograms, what is it? It is basically a 3D image that is created using a laser beam and mirrors. So the laser beam is splitted by reflecting it off the mirrors, and when they recombine, they create the holographic image, right? Like a 3D image that is created using beams and mirrors. This is how a holographic image is generated. You might have seen in the movies. The advantages of the hologram images that they do not basically require special glasses to view the 3D effect. They are also very difficult to replicate, and it is much easier to see the depth perception of that. The disadvantages can be that 3D projected holograms require expensive equipment to create, like a lot of data needs to be stored. Holographic images can also be used in the security parts as well, like they can appear on the credit card, currencies, and other secure documents as well, such as your driving license or passport. So they are basically used as a method of security to stop your frauds, as it is quite difficult to replicate. Holograms also add an extra layer of security as well to sensitive items and information as well. Holograms can also be present there in the architectural visualization as well, like that can offer a more or a good or a 3D experience. One way to store the data is also with the example of your holographic data storage is that, and the phenomenon is really common. Like optical storage use light to burn data into a reflective surface. Like one example of that is basically a CD disk. So on the back of a CD, you have the reflective material, and with the help of a laser, you burn the data onto that reflective disk. So this is the one that we basically use in our CDs, in our DVDs as well. Like the advantage is that can be large amount of data can be stored on a very small medium, and it will also make the storage of large amount of data much more portable. It is also capable of storing millions of data and also is much faster. But disadvantages can be like it is not compatible with the current methods of data storage, and the technology required is very complex and expensive as well. Then I have the 3D printing part, and 3D printing part is really common nowadays. Like it is based upon your computer-aided design softwares, so that you can create the you can create the models and you can send them to the 3D printer. Like the advantages for this part, which are important, is that the speed at which certain objects can be created is greatly increased through the use of 3D printing, because all you need is that you just need a piece of model and you need to print them. A 3D printer is also going to produce very consistent results, like from the same level. It has a much more flexible and a much more flexible approach when creating the patterns. However, the disadvantages can be like it has become much easier to build dangerous items as well, like maybe a gun or maybe items that can cause greater security issues as well. At present, 3D printers are only capable of creating relatively small items as well. So 3D printing also reduces the number of manufacturing jobs as well. It is like replace the need for humans to create the products as well. It basically requires a high level of power consumption as well. Bespoke prosthetic is one of the example of a 3D printing that is generated layer by layer. So this technique can be used to like print artificial organs or artificial blood vessels that could be used to aid in your medical research. This can also be used in the printing in a space as well. Like storage space is very limited. And if you require something, so you don't need to go back, you can just simply print it. I can also give you the concept of vision enhancement as well. Like this is one of the field of technology which can restore visions. Like we have basically one of our five senses to those who have lost it. Like vision enhancement is normally provided in the type of glasses or lens. So they basically alter the stimulus that enters through their eye, and that's the way that how they enhance the person's vision. The ultimate goal of vision enhancement is to like help blind people with the image of their surroundings so that they can work and enjoy themselves. So this is also one of the emerging technologies. The advantages of this part is that it can improve the vision of those with limited or poor vision as well, because it can give them a better quality life. But the disadvantage is that the technology involved is really expensive to manufacture. Other than that, we also have variable computing items as well. Like these items can take many different forms, maybe from one up to another. They include embedded devices such as smartwatches, smartphones like this. The advantages of that is that they basically provide you greater accessibility. They provide you greater statistics. They can improve your ability to monitor your health as well. But disadvantage is that as people are become obsessed with these gadgets, these are expensive as well and their accuracy might vary as well. There can be monitoring and environmental health issues to this one as well. So this is for a very brief lecture for 9618 chapter number 3. So even before I take you to the past papers of this chapter, I just want you to go through chapter 3 and just notify me that if there is anything that you think that it's not clear. So I'm going to open the syllabus, and then once you approve me, then I'll take you to the past papers of this. This is what this 952 syllabus. All right, you can see from right here, these are the pointers for the new and emerging technologies. So if you have any problem in any of the point, just get back to me, and if it is okay with you, then I'll move on to the past papers.
So, what's meant by blockchain technology?
Okay, I'll take you to this blockchain.
Is Internet of Things? So, this is clear.
So do you want me to explain you the blockchain?
Yes, sir, and Internet of Things.
Okay, blockchain, Internet of Things. Okay, so Blockchain is basically for help for explaining you blockchain. I'm going to take you to a small video. This one.
Blockchains are incredibly popular nowadays. But what is a blockchain? How do they work? What problems do they solve?
Is the voice coming to you?
Yes, sir.
So basically, blockchain is a part of the cryptocurrencies. What is cryptocurrency? Cryptocurrency is a decentralized network. Decentralized network means that if there are two people from different countries or from different states or region, so they can send money from one place to another, maybe into different countries or different parts of the another world, and there is not any authorization body like to keep the control of that. So when it comes to blockchain is the similar example when you are working with the cryptocurrency with the transactions as well. So in the cryptocurrency, no one knows that why are you sending the money to which purpose and for whom to it is designated to, because it is a decentralized network. And since it is a decentralized network, you never know that like there is not anybody that is going to regulate the use of that or that is going to grow. Like for example, if you send me funds maybe from Mizan Bank, so Mizan Bank is going to be the regulatory authority or the person who has sent me the funds. But when it comes to a cryptocurrency has not anybody that is going to be responsible for the funds. So it's like completely decentralized and no one owns it. Now, a blockchain is a part of the cryptocurrency, which I'm going to explain to you. So
Blockchains are incredibly popular nowadays. What is a blockchain? How do they work? What problems do they solve? And how can they be used? Like the name indicates, a blockchain is a chain of blocks that contains information. This technique was originally described in 1991 by a group of researchers and was originally intended to timestamp digital documents so that it's not possible to backdate them or to tamper with them, almost like a notary. However, it went by mostly unused until it was adapted by Satoshi Nakamoto in 2009 to create the digital cryptocurrency Bitcoin. Now, a blockchain is a distributed ledger that is completely open to anyone. They have an interesting property. Once some data has been recorded inside a blockchain, it becomes very difficult to change it. So how does that work? Well, let's take a closer look at a block. Each block contains some data, the hash of the block, and the hash of the previous block. The data that is stored inside a block depends on the type of blockchain. The Bitcoin blockchain, for example, stores the details about a transaction in here, such as the sender, receiver, and the amount of points. A block also has a hash. You can compare a hash to a fingerprint. It identifies a block and all of its contents, and it's always unique, just as a fingerprint. Once a block is created, its hash is being calculated. Changing something inside the block will cause the hash to change. So in other words, hashes are very useful when you want to detect changes to blocks. If the fingerprint of a block changes, it no longer is the same block. The third element inside each block is the hash of the previous block. And this effectively creates a chain of blocks, and it's this technique that makes a blockchain so secure. Let's take an example. Here we have a chain of 3 blocks. As you can see, each block has a hash and the hash of the previous block. So block number 3 points to block number 2, and number 2 points to number 1. Now the first block is a bit special. It cannot point to previous blocks because, well, it's the first one. We call this block the genesis block. Now, let's say that you tamper with the second block. This causes the hash of the block to change as well. In turn, that will make block 3 and all following blocks invalid because they no longer store a valid hash of the previous block. So changing a single block will make all following blocks invalid. But using hashes is not enough to prevent tampering. Computers these days are very fast and can calculate hundreds of thousands of hashes per second. You could effectively tamper with a block and recalculate all the hashes of other blocks to make your blockchain valid again. So to mitigate this, blockchains have something that is called proof of work. It's a mechanism that slows down the creation of new blocks. In Bitcoin's case, it takes about 10 minutes to calculate the required proof of work and add a new block to the chain. This mechanism makes it very hard to tamper with the blocks, because if you tamper with one block, you'll need to recalculate the proof of work for all the following blocks. So the security of a blockchain comes from its creative use of hashing and the proof of work mechanism. But there is one more way that blockchains secure themselves, and that is by being distributed. Instead of using a central entity to manage the chain, blockchains use a peer-to-peer network and everyone is allowed to join. When someone joins this network, he gets a full copy of the blockchain. The node can use this to verify that everything is still in order. Now, let's see what happens when someone creates a new block. That block is sent to everyone on the network. Each node then verifies the block to make sure that it hasn't been tampered with. And if everything checks out, each node adds this block to their own blockchain. All the nodes in this network create consensus. They agree about what blocks are valid and which aren't. Blocks that are tampered with will be rejected by other nodes in the network. So to successfully tamper with a blockchain, you'll need to tamper with all the blocks on the chain.
They have basically updated the syllabus for 2025, and I think that right now there is not any question of blockchain which I can refer to you. But what I can do is that I can provide you the notes on that. So no matter if you have any question in your exam, you can easily answer. So blockchain is basically a distributed ledger of a crypto coin. A crypto coin is like I told you that it is a decentralized currency. A centralized one is an example of, okay, if you are sending me funds maybe through the Mizan Bank or something. But a decentralized is the one that has no connections in between. It has no banks. So whenever you are making the transaction with the help of a cryptocurrency, it is basically in the example of a distributed ledger. A distributed ledger is like the one that is completely open to like each and everyone. So in this you have basically have the hash value. The hash value is going to connect with it, and that basically forms the chain for your transactions. Let me send you this for the blockchain part. Okay, this one is for the digital currency and for the blockchain. So I have sent you the part for the blockchain and the cryptocurrencies as well, that how it basically works. You can go through this part for the cryptocurrencies and the blockchain. And for the rest of the things that includes in your syllabus, that is mm, Internet of Things. So I'll take you for to this part and to the next class. But before than that, you can recap all of these topics from your book and from the resources and the past papers that I sent you. I do understand that this is a lot of depth and this is a lot of detail. But listen, you don't need to go into the much of the part. You just need to make sure that what is the basic concept regarding the basic title, and what the advantages and disadvantages you have for this. So you just need to write it. So do you have any confusions in this?
No, sir.
Okay.